Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg has officially caved. In a massive win for President Trump, New York prosecutors are admitting defeat. Wait until you see this amazing development. And then we got some huge breaking news on election integrity efforts all across swing states. We're going to see the latest of some big wins coming out of Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And gang, let's dive right in. It does indeed look like President Trump has finally beaten the weaponized legalism that the Democrats thought would take him out. It's now being widely reported that Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has indeed conceded that the New York court should postpone the sentencing of Trump, which is currently scheduled to occur on September 18th, until after the election. In a letter to Judge Juan Merchan, Bragg admitted that in light of the Supreme Court's recent immunity ruling, much of his evidence that he introduced in this case has been effectively wiped out. As many of you know, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of President Trump's immunity about a month or so after the vile verdict from that equally vile Manhattan jury. And the decision did indeed confirm that presidents and former presidents do have presumptive immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts, which include a right to preclude such acts from being used as evidence by prosecutors, which, of course, Alvin Bragg did. As Andy McCarthy of National Review pointed out, Bragg admitted into evidence a number of Trump's official acts as president, as well as subpoenaed the testimony of two Trump White House staffers. And so, in light of the Supreme Court's ruling, Bragg is admitting that the dismissal of much of that evidence from the trial does call into question the nature of the sentencing, and that such sentencing should be reevaluated and pushed back until after the election. Now, make no mistake, that letter that Bragg sent to Merchan is a total crock of shit. Make absolutely no mistake on that. Do you actually think that this Manhattan DA and that this judge give two rips about the law? Do you really believe that? Do you think they actually give a whit about justice and fairness? Obviously not. You know what's really going on here. You know it. This letter from Bragg is an admission. It's a confession that the weaponized lawfare has boomeranged against them. It's an admission that the only thing this weaponized legalism has accomplished is a massive backlash of sympathy towards Trump against them. That's what this caving from Bragg represents. It doesn't have a whit to do with, we want a right application of the law in light of the Supreme Court's recent decision. That's a crock of shit. This is a full-on retreat. They're retreating from a deliberate offensive against the Democrat process itself, precisely because the people, the demos, themselves have risen up against this. So now we'll, of course, have to see how this Democrat activist Judge Merchan reacts to this letter. But make no mistake, this is Bragg telling this judge that the Democrat powers that be want them to cease and desist. The powers that be have determined that they're getting crushed by the backlash in this lawfare, and they need to back off from it. The last thing they want is a massive wave of sympathy towards Trump or Merchan to sentence him to jail literally weeks before the election. So we'll see how all of this plays out. But thus far, this is a huge win for Trump. Now, speaking of the election, we got some huge news on election integrity wins in a whole host of swing states. It's going to absolutely make your day. But first, gang, with all of the uncertainty that's going around us, with all of the insanity in the world, there's simply never been a better time to secure your finances with the timeless value of gold and silver. And so that's why we have as one of our wonderful friends and sponsors, the amazing company Goldco, because they're patriots just like us who want to help you and guide you into getting into precious metals. But here's the key: completely tax-free and penalty-free. In fact, if you click on that link below right now, you can get your very own absolutely free gold and silver kit. It's an amazing free resource that shows you step by step how to get into precious metals, even if your money's still in a retirement account like an IRA or a 401k. And again, just to show you how awesome the Patriots are at Goldco, the best part here is that you may actually already qualify to get up to $10,000 in free silver. I told you they're the best, so what are you waiting for? Get in on the action by clicking on that link below or going to turleytalkslikesgold.com and get your free gold and silver kit. It promises to be a real life changer. We got some big developments going on with election integrity efforts all throughout the swing states. So let's start with Nevada, where their Supreme Court just made a landmark ruling. It was a massive blow to Democrats. The Nevada Supreme Court ruled that election officials do, in fact, have the right to withhold certification of vote as long as that vote is being contested. Now, again, if you remember, one of the things that was so frustrating back in 2020 is the Democrats rammed through vote certification. We saw it again in 2022 with Katie Hobbs in Arizona. Even though the vote was being contested, election officials, often under duress, were forced to certify the election results under penalty of law. That is now gone in Nevada. As long as the vote is being contested, election officials have the right to refrain from certifying that vote until those concerns are addressed and assuaged. Now, it's not just Nevada. In the key swing state of Pennsylvania, the GOP successfully got a Pennsylvania judge to rule our way on what's called naked ballots, okay? A naked ballot is basically a mail-in ballot that's been completed and put in a return envelope, but it's missing what's called a secrecy envelope. So in Pennsylvania, they actually require two envelopes. One to put the ballot in, that's the secrecy envelope, and another to put the secrecy envelope in to send it to the elections office. So it's just another way of securing the vote, making sure that the one filling it out is the real person sending it in. What just happened is that the Democrats wanted to make it so that votes returned without a secrecy envelope would still get counted against Pennsylvania law. But Republicans successfully argued, and the court ruled any ballots that are sent in without the secrecy envelope will not be counted. So this is another win for Republicans and election integrity, especially with mail-in ballots. And in addition to all that, the Trump campaign just announced that they've secured, get this, they've secured over 100,000 poll watchers, poll workers, and legal experts for the election. In fact, they've secured more like 150,000. And they're spreading these workers and legal experts across over a dozen states to make sure the election is secured. And all of this is, of course, on top of what we reported on Monday on how the New York Times is absolutely having a temper tantrum over what they're calling a far-right takeover of Georgia's election board. This is the board that is ultimately responsible for conducting the election and for arbitrating any disputes regarding how the election was conducted. They were a bunch of weenies back in 2020. Now they're literally owned by MAGA forces. Trump is actually boasting about it. We now own the Georgia election board. So there's some huge developments going on with election integrity efforts in all kinds of swing states. Now it's our turn to make sure we get out and do our part to give Trump the most massive win ever.